Good morning, children. Yesterday we already studied about the living world, the first chapter of class 11th, living world. We all had known about that what are the living organism and the difference between living and non-living and the characteristics which possessed by the living organism. That what the special characteristics should a living organism should be having, just like the growth, reproduction, in which the important terms for the metabolism, the sum total of all biological activities or the chemical activities undergoing our body or any living organism body, and fourth important one was the consciousness. And then we all had known about the bodily organization, cellular organism. That are the few particular characteristics of the living organism. In this previous lecture we all had known about that what things are the characters of the living organism. Now after knowing the living organism, in this chapter only we are going to study about few topics. First of all, the first topic of this chapter related to it is, the first thing is biodiversity. What do we understand by biodiversity? The entire number of organism, the entire number of living organism, the entire number of living organism present on our earth. The entire number of living organisms that are present on our earth is called as biodiversity. So biodiversity is the entire number of living organisms which are present on the earth, whether it is the bacteria, animal, plant, whatever the things which are living. We already known that what are the living, which are having the important characteristics of the metabolism and consciousness, means awareness, the sensation of the external stimulus. They are categorized under the living organism, and the further characteristics are also we had discussed about the reproduction, growth and all the things that are not the specific and important characteristics to solely just recognize that particular organism is living or not, but they are the special characteristics also of the living organism. So the living organism we all had known. Now all the entire organism present, living organism present on the earth is called as the biodiversity. Then there was the need to attain that when so much of biodiversity is present on our earth, then there needed to be categorized them. There needed to be categorized them in few categories. So the need of classification has been introduced in this. That what is the classification? Things grouped in different categories based on easily observable character. Whatever the character we are observing, like if we are observing that any plant is green in color, that is a particular character of that plant. Similarly, the different character, whatever we are observing, according to that, we had categorized different biodiversity living organism in different groups. So there was the need of classification because there was huge amount of biodiversity, the animals, plants, microorganisms, different type of plant. So their need of classification arises. So why the need of classification arises? So that the study of different biodiversity, whatever the organism are present, should be convenience, means easily study could be done. Okay, by the category we could put out, if just like we are planning anything and we had put the color pencil in a particular category, we had put the class copies in the particular category. So when we arrange our library, then if the particular category anyone is introduced, that go and pick out that particular thing. Then we had categorized in different assembled manner, so they will easily get it. So similarly, after classification, we will get the convenience in the study of that particular biodiversity. Knowledge of adaptations. There will be the knowledge and what the adaptation is being, that particular adaptation, these are few organisms are there. The particular adaptation, these few means desertial organisms, these are living in the desert, these are living in the rainy season, the rainy area, these are living in this particular area. The adaptation, according to adaptation, what adaptation they are possessing. Sequence of evolution, we all know that we are evaluating from the pre-ancestral. So what is the sequence of evolution is being followed, that in the previous ancestral this was thing and now modification is done. So that will be categorized. Phylogenetic relationship means, what is the phylogenetic means, the phylum related to our ancestral, what is the relationship of our relating to that particular ancestor. So that relationship is also studied and categorized. And discovery of new organism, and if any new organism is being introduced, that also will be categorized and introduced in that particular category. So what we had studied about the biodiversity, the living organism, entire living organism present on the particular earth is called as biodiversity, and there is a need of classification for these convenience. Now, after knowing the need of classification, we will study about the three domain of life. Three domain of life just give the three criteria: archaebacteria, bacteria and eukaryota. Okay, so the three domain of life is categorized into three subheadings: archaebacteria, bacteria and eukaryotes. Okay, now archaebacteria, what are the archaebacteria, what are the bacteria and what are the eukaryotes, we all will study here. So what is the archaebacteria? Archaebacteria were the early prokaryotes. Means early prokaryotes we already had studied in the previous classes that what is prokaryotes and what are eukaryotes. Prekaryotes means which are not having the membrane bound organelles, means nucleus is also just spreaded in a coiled form in that particular protoplasm, so there is not any membrane bound organelle. And eukaryotes means the organism which are having membrane bound structure, mitochondria, cell organelles, different cell organelles, and even the nucleus is also in a membrane bound structure. So that is the difference, basic difference between prokaryote and eukaryote. So archaebacteria means the early prokaryotes, means not the all the prokaryotes, but early prokaryotes that were living in the extreme condition, extreme to extreme condition that the prokaryotes were living, that were categorized into the archaebacteria. Extreme condition, they are having 16S RNA was having 16 strands as RNA was there, subunit RNA was there, S means subunit. So 16 subunit RNA was there in the archaebacteria. The examples are methanogens which are present in the marshy places, they are extreme condition. Halophiles which are present in the salty lakes and salty waters, and not only the halophiles, even though that extreme condition that were, I am not getting the name, that the particular thermophiles means thermal condition, they are also the example of archaebacteria, means the bacteria, the organism which are living in an extreme condition that are categorized under the archaebacteria domain. Then coming to the bacteria, they were the early prokaryote, they are the typical prokaryote. Typical prokaryotes means they are no membrane bound organelles were present. The example of the bacteria is eubacteria. Don't be confused in eubacteria and eukaryote, because here the eubacteria is being named, and here eukaryota. Eukaryota means membrane bound organelle. Here eubacteria. Eubacteria was having 70 subunit ribosomes, and then peptidoglycan. The cell wall was made up of peptidoglycan. They are having naked DNA. Why? Because there are no membrane bound organelles, so nucleus will be spreaded in the cytoplasm only, so the DNA will be also naked. And the mycoplasma, cyanobacteria are the example of typical prokaryotes or bacteria. So we already studied in the 3 domain of life, archaebacteria, extreme condition. Bacteria means the later prokaryotes or the typical prokaryotes which are not having any membrane bound organelles. Now coming to the eukaryote. Eukaryote means all the eukaryotes which are having membrane bound organelles, different type of cell organelles. Nucleus is also having the nuclear membrane, and there are 4 kingdom classification in this eukaryote: Protista, fungus, plant, and animalia. These are the 4 type of characteristics. 4 kingdom classification was there in the eukaryotes. These are all under the subheading of the eukaryote. Now what we had said about the biodiversity, the need of classification, about the classification, that why the classification is being needed to categorize different things in an assembled form, and to know about the 3 domain of life in which we had studied about the extreme condition, archaebacteria, methanogens, and the halophiles. Bacteria, in which we had studied about the bacteria, mycoplasma, they are having no membrane bound organelle, and eukaryota means the having the membrane bound organelles. The examples are plant, animalia, fungus, and protista. Okay. Now after this we will come to the term systematics. What means systematic? Systematics means anything systematically arranged. Means anything is being arranged in a proper systematic order. The proper systematic order or arrangement is called as the systematics. The branch of science which deals with the systemic study is called as systemics. Now, who had coined the term systemics? Carolus Linnaeus has coined the term systemics in 1751. The main contribution of this nomenclature, classification, all that is the Carolus Linnaeus only. So he had coined the term systematics in 1759, and what he had used to use the term systemic to arrange the thing properly in the systematic order. First of all, he had used the term identification. Different type of biodiversity, different type of organism are there. So to identify them, how will we identify them? According to the morphological character, the thing which is depicted by our eyes, morphological character, and anatomical features, means their study, their bodily organization, their body type, and whatever the things, whether the plant, animal, microorganism, whether the thing, the anatomical character will be examined, and then they will be identified that, oh, this is the particular organism having the particular morphology, means it is looking like this and it is looking like anatomically this, so we will categorize into this subheadings. Okay, so that is the basis of identification. Classification, we already know that after identification we will group them in different type of group, that yes, we are classifying in different type of group. What was the advantage of classification? The advantage of classification was that we could identify and study them easily. We could study the fossils, whether the ancestral fossils and all things, we will study it easily. Easy to study the features of whole group. Or if we are knowing the 1-2 organism, if we are categorized that these particular group are in this subheading. So only knowing the 1-2 organism feature, we will know the full group. If we are just going to know about the class 12 or class 11, that this is the characteristics of the class 12 student, this is the characteristics they had taken science history. So these are the characteristics of class 11 and these are the characteristics of class 12. So knowing that particular 1-2 characteristics only, we will know about the whole class. So that is the thing that by classification we will know only 1-2 organism characteristics. We will know that these characteristics organism is present in this particular category. So we will know it very easily. And we will also build up the adaptation or evolutionary pathway, that what is the evolutionary pathway regarding the pre-ancestral things. So that will be categorized in proper orientation. So this was the work of Linnaeus, and he used identification and classification. After the identification, classification, he introduced to the nomenclature, that he had identified, classified. Now he had thought that we will name the different type of animals, plants, microorganism and their origin. So what is the nomenclature? System of naming any organism is called as the nomenclature. So he had used about the name nomenclature. Now, when he had known about the term nomenclature, then he had introduced two terms. First of all, common name. What is the common name? Common name or trivial name means that if there is a ginger, okay, ginger we will call that adrak in some places we will call it some with another name. So that what is the common name according to the different states, different country, different things of particular thing, that is called as common name. But when we are using common name, then might be we are talking about this thing here, but we are talking to somewhere else with the, we are going to somewhere else, and according to our city we are taking the name of that particular ginger, we are taking adrak, and somewhere it is called as something else. So they will not understand. So there will be a improper guidance of that particular. So for that they had introduced the scientific name. Scientific name will be universally accepted. They will be having some criteria and some fulfillment according to that particular universally accepted. Main name of the particular organism is this, which is universally accepted. So worldwide, wherever we go, we will take the name of, just like mango, we will take the name of Magnifera indica, that means mango. Whether we are taking the name of in the North India, South India, in the foreign or any place. But if we take the common name, then we will take about that this is the particular Kapuri Aam, this is called that the Shahri Aam and all the things. So different type of mango or whatever this is, we are talking about the Aam, somewhere it will be called as something else. We are talking about the wheat, somewhere it is called as something else. So whatever these things are the common name or the particular element. So this is the common name. So for the difficulty in the common name, we had introduced about the scientific name. Now, after the introduction of scientific name, Carolus Linnaeus has in a Philosophical Botanica. His book was this Philosophical Botanica in 1751. He had given two books. The 10th edition of Systema Naturae, which was concluding the zoological name, means animal name, and Species Planetorum. Once again, no, in the 10th edition of book Systema Naturae, where the animal classification was done, and Species Planetorum, where in 1753, where the plant species name was done. So Linnaeus has made two books in which he had introduced the term or introduced the scientific name which is universally accepted in all the two books. And there was some things, and he had known them the binomial nomenclature. Why it is called as binomial nomenclature? Because there are two names are used. Two type of names are used. Here one is the specific, first one is the genetic name, where the genetic name is being introduced, and the second is the species epithet, means species name. So two type of name were used. The first one is genetic name, and the second one is species name. The genetic name is called as the generic name, and the species name is called as the species epithet. So for that only the binomial nomenclature has been introduced. So whatever, just like that. And what was the rules of naming any nomenclature? So what is the binomial nomenclature? System to provide distinct and specific name of organism universally accepted. So a system means a systematic arrangement or system which used to provide a distinct and specific name to particular organism, living organism, to particular organism which is universally accepted. That is the binomial nomenclature. What is the rule of binomial nomenclature? Binomial nomenclature, although the Linnaeus had given, but few codings of the nomenclature unit had also done revision, revised it, and they had introduced about it. The first one is the ICBN, means International Council of Botanical Nomenclature, International Council of Zoological Nomenclature, International Council of Bacterial Nomenclature, International Council of Viral Nomenclature, and International Council for Nomenclature of Cultivated Plants. So these 5 categories of codings had also revised the book of Linnaeus and just modified the things and introduced it, and it is called as the binomial nomenclature, which is universally accepted, which is having the genetic as well as the species name. Now, what are the rules? Rules are there that name are written in the Latin, because name were introduced from the Latin word, so they are written in the Latin. The first word of anyone is called as the genetic name, which will be introduced with a capital letter. When we are talking about the genetic name, then it will be introduced with the capital letter, and the second will be the species name, that will be introduced with the small letter, and that both the name, difference name, both will be underlined. So both will be underlined. The best example here is the Magnifera indica, means the name of mango. M is capital, means genetic name of the mango is capital, and species name indica is in small letter, and both are underlined. Pisum sativum, P means P, sweet pea. Pisum sativum, the capital letter is being introduced for the P, and sativum means the species name is small s. So what is the rule of binomial nomenclature? The first name will be the genetic name, and the second name will be the species name. The first name will be in the capital letter, the second name will be in the small letter. Both the name will be underlined. Okay. Name of the author of the species, who had introduced it in the book, the Systema Naturae and Species Planetorum. The author is Linnaeus. So his name, if we are introducing his name, then we will write, either we will write LINN dot, or we will write L in parenthesis, the name of scientist who has introduced these names. In parenthesis, in a bracket, his name will be introduced like L. Okay. After that, few higher organisms were also there whose name were not introduced that time. So higher organisms were then after, because that time the italics word has been used. So then to introduce them, bold letter, bold capital letter with underline, both the genetic and species name will be introduced and will be added in that according to the new modification or new classification. Now, general common names, sometimes this also happen in this book that the common name and the scientific name are just same. Just like the example of gorilla, gorilla genetic name and species name is also gorilla, they both are underlined. So the common name is also gorilla, and the genetic or species name is also gorilla, so that is similar. So what we have studied today, we have studied today about the biodiversity, the entire living organism present on earth, need of classification and what is classification. Then we had studied about the 3 domain of life, archaebacteria, bacteria and eukaryotes. And then we had studied about the systematics. Systematics means systemic arrangement of particular organism, which has been introduced coined by Linnaeus in 1751. He introduced the term identification, classification and nomenclature. In the nomenclature, he had introduced firstly common name, when due to the difficulty of different type of state, different type of orientation and not universally accepted, there was the introduction of scientific name, and after scientific name, he had used the binomial nomenclature where 2 names were used, genetic and species, underlined, capital and the smaller things. Carelessness in his book 10th edition of Systema Naturae where zoological name has been given, and Species Planetorum in 1753 where plant name is given. We all know the definition of binomial nomenclature: system to provide distinct and specific name which is universally accepted of any particular organism is called as binomial nomenclature. And these particular codes were there which were introducing the binomial nomenclature and helping the binomial nomenclature to get succeed. And these were the rules where the genetic generally written in the Latin, capital small letter, underline the term, author name LINN dot or parenthesis capital L will be given after the species name. Just like Magnifera indica, then if the Linnaeus name will be written, then we will write in capital letter. If the Linnaeus name has been written after the Pisum sativum, then we will write in parenthesis S. Okay, so this will be the author name. If the author name is being written or we are just want to write it. Now higher categories which are not introduced in that book will be introduced in the bold letter, and now some common name and genetic name is also similar. Example is gorilla. So this is a today lecture. Any confusion, any topic regarding this thing? In the previous lecture we already studied about the living organism, that what is living organism, what are the categories of living organism or classification of living organism, that we will say that this particular organism is living. In that we are studying about the metabolism is the main criteria and the consciousness. Metabolism means sum total of all chemical activities going in our body. Constructive means catabolism, and destructive means catabolism and anabolism, where the simple to complex and complex to simple were carried out. So that was the metabolism topic. And after that, consciousness, which is important topic, and after knowing the living world, that this is the particular living world, we had known about the biodiversity, the need of classification, systemics, identification, binomial nomenclature, and all these things, and three domain of life. In the further lecture, we will know about the taxonomy and taxonomical categories and taxonomical hierarchy and taxonomical aids, and then this chapter will be completed in 1 to 2 lecture mode. This particular chapter will be completed. Any confusion regarding any topic, you all could ask. Okay, thank you.